There it is! Oh, okay. No. Ah!
At CoCoTALK, we'd like to thank the patrons who sponsor our show, so our heartfelt gratitude goes out to Al Hartman, Alan Murphy, Blair Ledoux, Brendan Donahue, Brian Weasler, D. Bruce Moore, Davey Mitchell, Diego, Dinty from Dinty's Hideaway, Disney Saints fan, Eric Canales, Fedor Stamen, Frodo, Glenn Hewlett, Graham Vebke, Grant Leedy, Henry Strickland, Jason Bucata, Jason Downs, Jenna Farron, Ken Reichert, Kyle Etter, Malfunk, Michael Pitsley, Paul Fiscarelli, Paul Shoemaker, Richard Lorbieski, Rob Inman, Stephen Wagner, Terry Steen, Terry Steggy, The Backyard Shed Gang, Tom C., Tom S., and Tim Lindner. Thank you ever so much, patrons. CoCoTALK is an unscripted live broadcast. Anything can and will happen. The views and opinions expressed by members of the panel and the live audience are their own and not necessarily those of the CoCoTALK show, its sponsors, affiliates, or subsidiaries. Open minds encouraged, sense of humor recommended. If any off-color comments were made, we're sorry.
Hi, this is Dale Lear, designer of TRS 80 Color Baseball, and you're listening to CoCoTALK.
This is CoCoTALK, the world's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy Color computer. It's time to drop your socks, grab your real-time clocks, and let's rock.
CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world, keeping the Tandy flame alive. We may be mocked, but we'll never stop, cause CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world.
Welcome to CoCoTALK, episode 181. Today's host is Nick Marotta, backup streamer on duty today.
CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world, keeping the Tandy flame alive. We may be mocked, but we'll never stop, cause CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world.
Hello.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to CoCoTALK. It's good to have you all here. I am your host, Nick Marotta, and thank you, Mark Bosley, you're our streamer today. How you doing, man?
Pretty good, as long as the internet holds out.
All right. Let's hope. Yes, there's some different people are having internet issues
for you. Thank me later.
All right, so let's go through the panel and do some introductions. So, Jason Reichard.
Why, hello. I'm all ready to go. I've got my magnifying visor. I've got my Diet Dr. Pepper for those who aren't here, and etc.
Yes, David Ladd, we missed you. David Ladd's not here today, so we have our backup David Ladd here as well.
Our poor David Ladd substitute.
Hashtag fake David Ladd.
And he's doing triple duty today. Backup David Ladd, backup Mark Overhoser, and he's posting the links.
Wow, you're only one man. Don't oppress yourself.
Does the backup David Ladd get excited by this thing I've got holding in my hand here?
Okay, can you do David Ladd doing Mark Overhoser?
I think that might be like an Inception type moment or something. Or I think that may fracture
Apple
the
over
space.
Here.
I think that might fracture the space-time continuum.
That's gonna break the internet.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here, Jason. Now we have Michael Furman. How you doing?
Hi guys, I'm doing all right. Decided to show my face this time, so I'm here to poke fun at y'all.
Oh, well, we appreciate that. It's a very important role, so thank you for being here. Mr. Dave 6809. I thought you were 6309. Anyway, Mr. Dave 6809. You downgraded.
Hey guys, how you doing? Yeah, no fires this week. I've been doing mostly software hacking. So.
All right, great to have you.
Oh, we've got fires for you here.
Oh, I like your avatar. Yes. All right, Ron Delvaux.
Yes.
How you doing?
Very good. Everybody's good out here in backlands of Arizona.
All right. Fellow Canadian, L. Curtis Boyle.
Hello, everyone.
How you doing in Canada? We have our Thanksgiving coming up this weekend.
Yeah, this weekend. That's why I'd have to cut the show short anyway, because apparently I have to go help my mom with some stuff. So.
Oh, well.
I was going to actually watch the wedding, which of course is going to be streaming for us in the Coco community for Mark Overholzer, but I probably won't be able to catch it live.
Oh, well. You on turkey duty?
Well, I'm on a whole bunch of things duty.
The mom
He said
list.
duty.
All right. From down under, software developer extraordinaire, Mr. Nick Marentes.
Oh, really easy here. Oh, it's me.
Yeah, he keeps hanging around us for some reason.
How'd we
Thought
get
it was
that
Nick
guy?
Marionettes on ROM cartridge.
Sorry, the word extraordinaire threw me.
Oh, yeah.
Don't worry, it threw all of
That's what
us.
you wrote for me to say, though. Did I not?
Do I have to pay you now?
Yeah, absolutely. Great to have
Thank
you
you.
here. All right, now we have Patrick Euland.
Hey, hey. Happy to be closer to Canada than the hurricanes, so life is good.
Yeah, no snow yet.
Right?
Not for a couple weeks yet.
Hey, my maple tree's still green in the back, so life is good.
All right, thank you for being here. Now we have R. Alan Murphy.
Howdy, howdy from the South Coast.
How you doing? How's it hanging?
Once again, we seem to have dodged a hurricane-shaped bullet, so it's doing
that's
much
good.
better this weekend than it could have been.
Good to hear.
I have a question. Is this our Alan Murphy compared to their Alan Murphy?
Probably.
Okay.
And unfortunately, you got the short end of the stick on that one. Theirs is much better guy, I heard.
And last but not least, the creator of the Vader Edition Coco, Mr. Terry Steggy.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Terry.
Oh, wait, did I introduce David O'Connor?
I
named
didn't
David
think
No, I don't think you did.
Okay, second to
I'm
last,
that guy.
second to last, and second to least, we have Terry Steggy. Nice to have you here, Terry. And I'm
Thanks,
sorry,
Nick.
my list shifted around on me, so my apologies to David O'Connor.
Hello, everybody. Konnichiwa, Papa-sans and Mamo-sans. Something like that.
Good to hear you. It's good to have you here. We'll be hearing more from you a little bit later, right?
Absolutely. Hope so.
All right. It's great to have you all here, and I do believe we're going to roll into the Game On results segment. Is that correct?
Yeah, let's run the introduction commercial break, and then we'll go right into our newest episode of Coco Thoughts.
All right. We'll see you back here.
Hi, this is Eddie Zerbinski from beautiful Quebec City. Vous écoutez CoCoTALK.
As you're enjoying CoCoTALK, we also want to remind you about the Coco Discord server. This is a place where people come to connect, to ask questions, to provide answers, to share information, and to socialize. So when you're done, why don't you head on over to the Coco Discord server and we'll continue the conversation there. The easy to remember link is discord.cocotalk.live. See you on Discord. Coco123 is the Glenside Color Computer Club community newsletter that's been in publication since 1985. While the Rainbow magazine may be gone, it doesn't mean you still can't have a cool Coco periodical. Head on over to the Glenside Color Computer website at glensidecc.com ccc.com, and then click on the Documents link to view all the past issues of the CoCo 123 newsletter. Not only can you read all of the past and present issues, we'd also love to hear some submissions from you. So if you'd like to send an article, a column, something to talk about, maybe even a program listing, send an email to glensidecc@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. The CoCo World Map is a cool community resource where you can view coconuts from around the world. Head on over to map.cocotalk.live and see where your fellow coconutians happen to be living on the planet Earth. If you would like to submit yourself to be on the CoCo Map, send an email to cocotalk@cocotalk.live, and we look forward to seeing you on the CoCo Map. Hey guys, it's Stevie Strode. If you've been watching CoCoTALK for a while, hopefully you understand that everyone is welcome to join this show. You don't need an impressive resume to get on. You just need to enjoy the CoCo and be willing to talk about it. There is no wrong way to CoCo. There is no wrong way to be a fan of the CoCo. There's no wrong way to be on CoCoTALK. You just have to want to talk CoCo. So if you would like to join us, then reach out to us on our Discord server, which is discord.cocotalk.live, or send an email to cocotalk@cocotalk.live, and let's get you on the show and let's talk about the CoCo.
Hi, I'm Tim, and you're watching CoCoTALK Live. And I'm playing Daggereth online like that idiot from the book.
Can you dial back on the condescension there as you respond there?
And now, CoCo Thoughts by Samuel Gimes.
I was looking through my STC late one night when my eyes beheld a puzzling sight. I pressed the Explorer keys and let them rise, and suddenly, to my surprise,
I played the maze.
I played the marble maze.
The marble maze.
It rolled various ways.
I played the maze.
The acid I did graze.
I played the maze.
I played the marble maze from the top of the structure in the east, around the corner where the marble eaters feast. The electric snakes from their square abodes gave me a jolt from their electrodes.
I played the maze.
I played the marble maze.
The marble maze.
It rolled in various ways.
I played the maze.
The acid I did graze.
I played the maze.
I played the marble maze. Out of the Outback Marionette's foisted ring, seemed he was troubled by just one thing. He opened the Vegemite and shook his fist and said, "Crikey, look at the size of that crock!" It's now the marble maze.
The marble maze.
It rolls in various ways.
It's now the maze.
The acid pool can be grazed.
It's now the maze.
It's now the marble maze. Ba-oo.
Wow.
High Score Challenge with Nick Marotta.
All right, and welcome to this week's results. We played Marble Maze with 24 scores submitted. Coco Man with 10. Mikey, 8,190.
Man,
Ben VR Drake's 10,290.
That's why we have Coco Man.
Quaker, 10,470. Mark Bosley, 12,190. R. Ellen Murphy, 16,440. Chet Simpson, 16,480. Ken Reichard, 16,600. Adam Tandy Dragon Guy, 16,690. Canadian Retro Thing, 17,080. 8 Bits in the Basement, 22,960. Louie, 23,120. Jim Rye, 23,740. Me, 23,980. Mr. Dave, 6309, 24,180. Cat Lord, 33,180. Buck Owens, 33,270. L. Curtis Boyle, 33,460. David Craker, 33,990. Tom C, 35,370. Tasman, 36,320. Sloopy, 56,160. Frodo, 57,440. And the number one score this week belongs to our very own Sir David Ladd with 108,750. Way to go. Thank you to all the participants who submitted scores this week. That's right, David Ladd.
Oh, yes.
He mastered this game this week. He played it a fair bit and did really well. I'm gonna go ahead and share my
Even with his broken joystick.
That's right. Yes, his joystick was a casualty of this week.
Maybe I need to send his joystick parts back to him so I can fix it.
Or is that when he threw it against the wall?
Actually, this might be the driver to get him to fix his printer.
Yeah, exactly. Because when he has his printer, he makes replacement parts. So there's the Rainbow Review. Got a favorable review, and unlike the other games, they were able to mention Marble Madness by name in this one, I believe. They just didn't try to hide it. It was a conversion.
To be honest, a lot of the Rainbow reviewers didn't have a clue. They didn't go to arcades. They were sending it to reviewers that didn't play games normally, so they had no idea.
Here's the suspect high score of the week.
God.
So I think we're gonna do like the Russian, like the Olympic judges, and throw out the top score and the bottom score. So we'll say Neil Edge has.
So now we know who John Doe was.
Yeah. I thought the high score was like 37 gazillion.
Yeah, exactly. So as we saw, David Ladd actually got the high score, and he actually unlocked or showed the secret code that happens when you beat the game. And
this was used as a competition because Dave Dyes had it advertised that if you did win this game, if you're one of the first people to do it, you got once you set this code in, he would give you a free game of your choice.
And I believe there were 8 levels in this game.
Yes.
The arcade only had 6, which surprised me. So we actually had a couple more levels than the arcade version did. So take note of this code, send it in, and enjoy your free game. All right, so this is the video from David Ladd that we'll have running while we talk about the game. So what did you guys think of it?
I like falling. It's fun.
Yes, obviously this is a clone of Marble Madness, and like I said, it had extra levels that the arcade didn't have.
Hey, I wasn't in last place.
It was quite a challenge to get that low of a score. Actually, it took a little bit of patience and calculation to get that low of a score.
It's good to have to work for your efforts. Like, it builds character.
Yeah, because before you know it, you had like a score of like 40 or 50 before you know it. So getting 10 was really a challenge.
So it's not easy being last, is what you're saying.
No, this was a bit of a challenge, but kind of an opposite challenge. But that's your. You just wait till the timer counts down to 1, and then wait about another half a second and move the joystick, and you'll get 10.
But you make losing look so easy.
Doesn't that mean you can get even lower?
10 seems to be the minimum score.
0's not allowed, so it has to be a positive score.
I do have a question. Is this a video? Is the artifacting correct here?
Looks like it.
This is in MAME.
Are you talking about like the red-blue swap?
Yes.
I can't remember. The manual does specifically mention certain things are supposed to be a certain color, and I can't remember.
Well, there is a color check. So on real hardware, you have to do a reset F1, which I've done, and I believe bringing mine up now. Yes, that is correct.
I believe
looking
David's
at real hardware now. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. You're good.
So this is Dave's gameplay video where he got his 108,000. So you can see all 8 levels, and then it wraps around. It starts playing levels over again.
Yeah, it has 8 mazes, but I think like level 9 is not like the map is not the first maze or something. It's like from the 3rd one or something. He was saying.
Oh, okay.
Right. But yeah, I think it just gets more difficult after that.
So
it takes a while to get used to the inertia. I think that's the toughest thing everybody has, because your marble just doesn't turn on a dime. If you're already moving a direction, you have to like skid and kind of rejigger yourself going to a different direction.
Yes.
now Dave did say to me if he had the opportunity to fall a little bit, he would use that because the time you spend standing, being stunned after a fall is still faster than trying to overcome the inertia to turn around.
Yeah, there's a few shortcuts off ramps where you can actually save some time doing that. There's also, especially on the later levels, there's faster ways to go through. Like sometimes you have alternative ways to get through part of the maze. And if you pick the wrong one, it can literally take you twice as long to get through than if you pick the short one. So that's something you just kind of learn as you go. Then there's in the later levels, like you'll see here when Dave gets to them, there's like moving walls and there's like invisible spots you have to run across while they appear. And
I also seen like if you fall too far,
there's a shortcut he just took.
Yeah, if you fall too far, your marble will crack.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I know that one.
The GDC post-mortem for the original Marble Madness is up on YouTube, and it is incredibly interesting to see what they went through to put together the original levels for the arcade game. I think that the Coco actually had it far easier because they were developing this game during the video game crash, and so Atari kept pulling the rug out from under the developers with what kind of hardware they might have, and having them rewrite what the design for the game was over and over again. So if you get a chance, check out that GDC postmortem for this game. It's really interesting.
Yes, that's in the that was posted in the Game On Results channel in our Discord server. Frodo confirms that after level 8, it starts again from level 3. And if your ball falls more than 2 levels, that's when it cracks.
Yeah, and since the game is very much based on time, you have a timer first of all, but whatever time you have left over and you complete a level gets added to the time you have to complete the next level. So any shortcuts you can take by jumping, or figuring out alternative ways to get through the maze a bit faster than others, you'll definitely will help you increase the time you have on the next level and give you a lot better chance to get completed levels. Because if you take the long ways where you don't know the shortcuts, etc., on the later levels especially, where you start with less time to begin with, then you'll never make it to the end even before the timer runs out.
And if you're lucky, you get the magic wand that gives you a spare 10 seconds. I believe that's totally random.
It is totally random, yeah.
I'm kind of glad this video doesn't have the audio because of all the stuff he was screaming and shouting about those orange slimes.
there's also a lot of really. Like, Dave, are you playing Predator?
Were there some colorful metaphors?
Yes, definitely artifact metaphors.
Are those what got the copyright strikes?
Yeah, that could be.
Could have been.
That's a good point.
Rhoda mentions in the chat he did play it again after, and he did pass level 8. He made it up to level 10, but he scored less. So he said it would have made no difference in the standings. That's 2 people who've wrapped the secret message.
Yeah, we had quite a battle there between Tasman, Frodo, and Dave Ladd this week. It was pretty interesting.
And of course, for those that don't know, if you play this on a Coco 3, and this was actually mentioned by Steve Bjork when the Coco 3 was first announced, he said Marble Madness on the original stock 6809 was just a little too slow. So he mentioned using the double speed poke, which if you have a Coco 3, you can do that and speed up the game a fair bit. And then, of course, there's the 639 version I optimized too, which you can use on a Coco 1 or 2 if you have a 639, and gives you pretty close to the same speed. And if you want to really go nuts, ludicrous speed, I believe Buck Owens called it, you can do both. You can run the 639 at double speed, and holy cow, is the game fast.
And yeah, we had a couple new players this week. We had Louis, who is the son of 8 Bits in the Basement. So we have 3 father-son teams now, which is pretty cool. And Chet Simpson also posted a score, which was good to see. So yeah, we had a great turnout again.
And a little bit of history here. Dave Dyes, who did this with Dicom, he'd done several games for other companies earlier. Starting about 84, he did Pump Man, and he did a sort of a 1942 clone and a few other things for other software companies. And this one and one other game were the very first games he released under his own label, Dicom Products. This is when he went independent, so this is kind of a historical one for Dave Dyes as well.
Yeah, it's a really good conversion. I don't know if the 6 mazes that are here are the exact same as the arcade or not, but they because I never made it very far in the arcade version either.
Now, some of the obstacles are missing. So there's
Okay.
little funnels and things like that that appear in the arcade that I don't see in this.
Oh, okay. This is the 8th and final unique level.
Maze.
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 Amazing.
It's amazing. Awesome.
So
It looks to me like David's playing just on regular speed here, is he?
Yeah, he didn't care for the high speed. He preferred the regular speed because it gave him more time to think, and he just liked the speed better.
Yeah, Frodo's saying the same thing too. I did not use the double speed poke. I preferred the original speed.
So the double speed poke literally speeds up the whole game, not just the frame rate. Yeah.
Yeah, the timer goes down faster too, so it's a fair poke to use, but it's whether you like it or not.
I know. I just know back in the day, a lot of people thought the game was too sluggish and didn't like it for that reason. A lot of people did use the double speed poke, just because it made it more like arcade, more smooth. But yeah, like you said, it does balance out because it's not locked to VSync or anything, so it does. Your timer runs faster too, so you're not gaining an advantage. It's just if you're used to a faster, smoother game, it definitely would help you in that case.
Oh, I should have clued into this was the last screen because I saw David play this, and it actually says right there, end. So.
Oh, it does too. Yeah, right. Huh.
This is the end.
My only friend. The end. Is that what you were thinking?
Right.
Yeah, Frodo mentions that double speed, your reaction speed counts double, so it's a lot harder to complete. I remember when I was younger, like back in when the Coco 3 came out, I did find it easier on double speed myself, but my reaction time's gone way down since then, so I probably would side with them now.
And there we go.
Start getting more coffee there, Curtis. You might get a little jittery.
Dun, 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 dun.
Oh, this is where the congratulations. Oh, okay. I looked near the end of the video and it wasn't there, so it actually shows it to you as soon as you clear level 8.
That's a marvelous result.
Marvelous.
Proceed to continue. Okay, so that's where I was wondering where that screen was.
Does it get harder? Like, does it run faster? What does it do when you repeat the levels, or does it just repeat them straight? That I don't know.
Frodo can tell us. He's in chat. Frodo, did you hear that question? Does it when it repeats levels, are they harder at all?
I thought that's what David said when he was on Discord playing, but
yeah.
That seemed to be the explanation from David. It's a shame he wasn't able to make the show today. But...
Yeah.
Seems to be moving a little faster here.
It does.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess they throttled the speed a little bit in the earlier levels so that it could get faster as it went.
Okay, Frodo says you have less time mostly, which I think is true because you're only getting 35 seconds to start the level as a base time. Now, as far as playing it on different types of joysticks, I definitely found the self-centering deluxe was a lot easier than the free float Black Beauty or even the free float deluxe. What was everybody else's opinion on that?
I only tried the Black Beauty and I really liked it, so I didn't really try anything else. I didn't even try the digital. There was some debate as to whether it actually takes into account the analog when it comes to the top speed of the marble. I kind of thought it did. Like whether
I don't think it does. I think it's just directional because if you shift directions, if you hard crank it, it still slowly changes direction because of the inertia. It's kind of like Stellar Lifeline we did last week.
But if you only move it a little bit off center, will it only roll slowly, or will it still get up to its full speed? That's what I'm wondering.
I thought I went to full speed, but maybe I'm remembering wrong. That could be entirely possible.
Yeah.
Frodo says he doesn't have original hardware because he's running on the Mister, so he said he used his fight stick.
Ah, the fight stick, yes. The flight stick is, I'm assuming.
It's not the boomstick.
Nope, analog is purely digital in this game, is what Frodo says. So.
Analog is pretty digital. I like it.
Yeah, for me, just having the ability to center back so you can actually quit going diagonally and kind of get your direction back to normal.
Not a flight stick, a fight stick. I was I was corrected, so I'm not sure what a fight stick is. That's interesting.
You,
Think like a
gonna
nunchuck.
fight about it?
I don't know. I don't want to fight. He may hit me.
You can't talk about it. You got to.
That's the first rule. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't talk about fight
Frodo,
stick.
don't talk about it.
So if you wrap it a second time, you get a second secret message. You get a second free game. I don't know that either.
There's your next challenge. Get to level 16 or 17.
And you go ahead and try to redeem that.
That's right.
Well, actually, it's pretty easy to redeem now because Dave Dies is one of the people that has released all of his stuff to the public. So
I was not aware of that.
yeah, he sent me. If you go to my page, the games page there, that I have a link off the main page, which is emails from original authors that have legally released their software, and Dave Dies is one of 30 or something.
Very cool.
I know this is a bit of an issue of contention sometimes in the Discord, especially about giving direct links to games, mainly because some authors have not released or we can't get a hold of them or whatever other companies. But there is a list of about 150 games that have been legally released as not PD per se, but the authors have said you go ahead and download it and play it as much as you want because he's not selling that anymore. And the Dave Dies catalog, including stuff he's done for other companies besides Diecom, does fall under that umbrella.
That's on that's on your game site.
Yeah, there's a link to emails. Like we got Dave Shadoff and Bob Withers and Dave Dies and Chris Latham, the guy who did Donkey King and Sailor Man. That's another one. So there's quite a few, and some of the top end titles too. So
I'll go ahead and plug lcurtisboyle.com. It's a really good site for game information.
What is the site? lcurtisboyle.com/
something about Nitrous 9, I think. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, skip past the Nitrous 9 part and get to the good game stuff, and it's excellent. I also want to thank Canadian Retro Things, who did a video this week again with the CoCoTALK Game of the Week. So thank you, Canadian Retro Things, for mentioning us on your show as well.
How was this game originally released? Was it on cassette, disc, cartridge?
Cassette and disc. 64K required.
You can only enter your name on the disc version, apparently, but I don't think it saved them. Did it? Did it save them to disc? Yeah. Or so when you restarted the game, your high score list was still intact?
At least the version I was playing, it does.
Yep. The disc version did. I don't think the cassette did.
Okay.
So when you get to the end of the game and it says Dave Dies, was that confusing at all?
Dave's not here, man.
I do remember Dave mentioned he used to get a lot of jokes about his name when I talked to him at Rainbow Fest.
Well, it's right there in the code that you turn in for the free game. Dave Dies.
Oh yeah.
Period.
I'm sure
Maybe he's
it
just assuming everybody's
funnier.
playing his game is named Dave. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm sure it gets funnier every time he hears it too, right?
Not really.
Yeah. Sarcasm.
And I can't remember if his sister Lori used to do a lot of the artwork for the cover because it was baggy, zip baggy with a little piece of paper type thing, and she used to do a lot of the cover artwork. Some of them, the early ones, I think Dave did himself. So I can't remember if Marble Mad or Maze was one of the ones that she did or one he did. Might have their initials on the cover. I can't remember. He's not too far from where Nick is actually, or was. I don't know if he's still there.
Which Nick? Me?
Yeah. Well, yeah, he definitely wasn't in Australia.
Maybe he went to Australia. Just had enough of our crap over here and went to Australia. I don't know.
Come and deal with our crap instead.
Was he in Canada?
Yep, Ontario.
Wow.
Milton, if I remember.
All right. So thanks a lot, guys. Thanks. And I'll introduce the game of the week, but thanks a lot to Canadian Retro Things and David Ladd for your video contributions this week. And thanks to everybody who played. And you guys ready to hear about next week's game?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
So I went back into the request list, and next week's game was requested by Just Mike and Terry Steggy. So you guys recognize this?
Shock Trooper, I believe.
Yes.
That's right.
I am shocked.
Oh yeah, here we go.
Shock Trooper.
And I will mention this up front here. Rob Shaw's another one who's given us a release on this one. So if you want to provide a direct link to get this game, go ahead.
Actually, in this case, we will need to because there's going to be a note in the Game On channel you guys need to read before you play this game. But yeah, you're going to need to. There's a special note you'll see because you'll see why. Anyway, this is L. Curtis Boyle's site summary of it. So basically, you run around and shooting, and you save some other people that you'll see. I haven't played it a whole lot. I played it enough to get a hang of it. Like I said, I wanted to go back to the request list and discover some new games myself. And I think I played this a little bit back in the day, but not very much. So
It had a really cool multi-voice music theme song, which is actually based on the old V TV show, if you guys remember that too.
Oh.
Is that
By the way,
why?
read the last line of my description on my page too.
No cheating.
That doesn't show up quite as well here, but every V is red in this summary.
Probably play the music here.
So
It's a hint of the cracked artifacting. V's are supposed to be red.
Well, it's very intentional. Like when you look at it on a real Coco, it's very intentional that the other text is blue and the V's are red. So
And in the TV show, they spray painted the V red, so that's why.
Yes, that's right.
The logo on the main screen is the visitors' logo on their own spaceships and uniforms.
Yep.
All right, so that'll be our game of the week. Thank you to Terry and Just Mike for your suggestion. And I do take suggestions. Just private message me, and I keep a list and trying to work my way through those as well as the other games that I have in my mind. So thanks again to everybody who took part, and we will see you next week.
Make checks payable to.
Well, that's my priority queue. I have 2 queues. Yes. If you want,
there's some special instructions that you're going to post in Discord. You're not going to mention on here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just around the game. Just it's kind of important.
I'm kind of curious what this is now.
Yes, now you leave us with that. Is that?
All right. Well, with that, we'll move on.
The music is back. The MIDI Maestro available now, only from Retro Innovations. Go the4retro.com.
Tired of your color computer art input device being low res? Joey has you covered again. Switch between 3 joysticks or mice. Select the left or right port on your Coco. No more swapping joystick ports. Switch between standard and high resolution mode. Supports the Tandy and the Max high resolution mode. Pre-order yours today at cocoman.biz.
There we go. Let me stop sharing so you can share.
Okey-dokey.
There we go. I guess there's supposed to be a voiceover on the intro screen, huh?
Ah, crap. I gotta figure which one I'm pointing at here. I'll guess. Maybe this is the right one. Okay, do you guys see a link with Bill Pierce on the top?
No, we see if yes. Yep.
Okay. So for people that play guitar, it was a sad news this week. We found out that Eddie Van Halen passed away from cancer, which he apparently been fighting for a couple of years. So we haven't heard from him. So there was a few tributes from him, or for him, from a bunch of us. I remember David O'Connor, you mentioned some, I did, multiple others too. Bill Pierce is actually was a musician, or is a musician, and actually has done recordings, and he's toured and the whole bit there. He actually had sequenced songs on MIDI, which actually ties into the MIDI ad we just saw. that he actually had his MIDI synthesizer running from his Coco back, his Coco 2 even back in the day, which he had running all the, the drum track stuff, and then he'd play guitar over top. So he actually did a recording that he did back in 85, 86 of programming MIDI for Jump here, which he mentioned here on Facebook. And I'll just quickly go over to this MP3. I won't play too much because we don't want to get a copyright ding, but this is a Coco 2 playing MIDI, and then I think some live guitar he did on it. I'll just play a little bit from the beginning and a little bit in the middle. Is that too loud?
Van Halen is never too loud.
You are correct, sir. So the synthesizer, the drums, the bass is all from the Coco 2. I mean, like I said, I don't want to get a copyright ding, but it's a good showing what the Coco 2 with MIDI can do. So those people that are buying MIDI cards, you don't need to have a Coco 3, which, as a lot of us have discussed lately, are getting super expensive to get on eBay. I mean, they're going for hundreds of dollars. I've seen one that was mentioned last week, one new in box. I will give it that. Never opened, still sealed in the plastic. The offering price was $900.
Far out.
So, I mean, if you have a box sealed Coco 3, apparently you're rich now.
Where can I get some boxes from?
And the reason I wanted to show that, aside from the MIDI side of things, is that this in the comments section from that was brought up the game Martian Crypt, which is a graphical adventure game, which has a bunch of little musical interludes. And one of the things he used, and I'll just show this little clip from here, that I'd totally forgotten about, actually uses the same song. So we'll do that. Hopefully it's on the right volume setting here. So it's in the middle of the game. Did you guys hear that, or is it too quiet?
No, it's good.
Can hear it.
Yeah, hear it.
So you type help and it plays the theme of Jump. So unless you know your pop music, you wouldn't have known to type the word Jump here, which I thought was a really cool way to give help. That's multimedia back before that was a term, type thing. So that was cool. Next up, of course, we just had the ad for this too, and we also have the person that created it here. So I will let Jason kind of explain things in more detail. Plus, he's got the price here, the pre-discounted price, $55 plus shipping. Jason, do you want to mention, when you're planning on actually doing the shipping, like how quick are we to getting to that point, and any details you want to mention that weren't in the ad?
Right. Right now, I'm planning to start shipping by the end of the month. So, just letting anyone who wants to get in and get into that list for pre-orders, and so I'd say by the end of the month I should be shipping. If not before then, it may happen before then, but I'm going to give myself plenty of a cushion just in case. But
okay,
everything.
Now,
here
you also
just
mentioned
put
on this
together.
ad here that this is the pre-sale discounted price, $50 plus shipping. So first of all, how long does this price last? And then two, what is the regular price?
This is going to last through the pre-order period, which I am expecting to be done at the end of the month, and then it will go up. It's $5. And when you go to my website at cocoman.biz, you can see that I actually have it set up. It has a slash through the 60, and then it says 55 for the pre-orders. But
okay, cool. And just for people who don't know, Max mode that they were talking about is for Coco Max, because it had its own separate hardware cartridge, right?
Right. That's the Coco Max / colorware mode, and I just had to come up with a name for it. I'm just going to call it Max mode, and that is an option. There has been some chatter I've seen on Facebook about this issue before, and there's some folks, well, I don't need that, or I don't want that. So there is an option if you don't want the colorware / Max mode. You can just get the Tandy mode only. That is an option. That's a drop down on the order form.
Okay, same price though.
It's a dollar less if you don't want the colorware Max mode.
Okay. David, you had a question?
I don't know why anybody would opt not to have it. That seems a bit strange, especially if you can just turn it off.
Right, that's what I thought too. But there was some chatter, and it's a very little hardware to implement it. So it was just if you don't want it, it's an option to get rid of it. But I guess there had been some talk, I think, especially on the Coco Facebook group, that some of those programs had been fixed or had been changed or somehow that to use the Tandy and this wasn't necessary, et cetera, and but I decided I'll make it part of the, make it an option to get rid of it if you really don't want it. But
if you really want to save that extra buck.
Yeah, it's $1. I figure it's like it doesn't cost that much to put in there, so it's like $1. It's just a matter of that way it's easier to tell which is which. And if you don't want it, you don't have to have it. And I think that that puts that whole argument to rest, because I had seen this particular topic on the Coco Facebook group, and there was always the chatter, well, that's already been fixed, you don't need that anymore, et cetera, et cetera. And I look at it from the point of view that there's going to be folks that have different versions of that game or program rather, and want to use their old version, whether it be on a floppy or whatever, and that's fine. And so that way it'll work either way. And like I said, if you don't want the extra switch, I'll knock off $1 and it's all on the.
I'm trying to remember. I think there was 2 programs that used that. There was CocoMax 3 itself, of course, and then I think Max 10 used it as well, didn't it?
I believe so, yes.
Which Colorware did market as a bundle for a while. It was a high-end graphics editor plus a high-end typesetting style thing. For editing text documents with tons of fonts and graphics you could merge in, and basically they sold it as a bundle that both used that.
A lot of my old catalogs were made on that particular set of software.
Yeah, it was a pretty good package. I think they sold it for, what was it, $79 or $59 as a package or something, including the hardware bit.
Pretty good desktop publishing too. I mean, for Coco, what are you gonna do?
I remember Brother Jeremy was trying to get a bunch of us Nitrous 9 people to try to port the whole thing over, because he actually got the source code from, I think it was Dave Stamp that did it, but I don't think Alan DeCock was the last one I know that was starting to work on, and then he kind of got busy with life, like a lot of us did.
Now, wasn't this like old Mac-ish code from before they went 6800, and it got kicked around and turned into Max 10, and it was very specific to. There was some story in there I'm not quite remembering.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that. I mean, the original Mac prototype was a 609 with Jeff Raskin, but that was way before Macintosh OS was created. It was actually completely different at that point. But could be.
The whole reason this project came about was just because I had a lot of requests for it after the original Joey controller switch. So I learned how to make PC boards, and this is what I came up with.
Yeah, it's a nice all-in-one solution, especially not having to switch ports. That's always a pain in the butt. If you watch anybody doing YouTube videos of a stream of Coco games where you keep changing, hi Aaron in the chat, then you're worried about constantly switching ports, and it's not this one, and then then you're trying to figure out what joystick button to start the game, and sometimes it'll pick up either of them, so you click it and it starts the game, but it actually wants the other joystick, and it's just a pain in the ass. This is a nice solution.
I did see John on one of the streams there. He was doing some Coco games, and he says, I think a Joey controller switch is on his Christmas list. I believe is what he said. He would love that as a Christmas gift, he said.
Oh yeah. And speaking of some sound stuff now, this story here is from Sheldon McDonald. He's got a video up here, which I'll play in just a second, showing some music playing and selectable tunes if they're preloaded. So you do a poke to this address that his program uses, and it'll tell it which song to play, and you can switch it on the fly type thing. And this is for the this particular one here is for the PSG from the Zipster Zone, which is the playing. It's got the sound chip. I think it's even got joystick ports and stuff. I don't have one, so I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think that's one that has multiple things that could be used for games, not just the sound. And then he's also mentioned in the text chatter about it that he's got a version of this software for the GMC, which is John Linville's cartridge with the game or the sound chip as well. So I'll just play a little bit of that. And of course, you see now it's running in the background, so BASIC's still up and running, so you can multitask quite easily with it. And I think this basically shows you the power of having a real sound chip where you're not tying up the CPU doing it. Yes, we can do it, especially on the Coco 3 with interrupt timers and everything else, so we can get around it somewhat. But you're dedicating a lot of your CPU time. You could be doing graphics and stuff with to keeping that sound going. Nick Marentes, of course, can speak to this, and so can Chet on the panel. So having something like this where you can just set it up and let the thing run in the background is so much better for making highly sophisticated games with sound.
Cool.
Now, this is an interesting one here from Erico, our low-res wonderkind. So there's been talk lately. Brett Gordon and Jay Searle are working on a online multiplayer Coco 3 game using kind of an isometric 3D look, and they've done some demo videos that we've seen that where you're wandering through grasslands and trying to find beer, which just sounds like a typical summer day for me. What Eric's proposing here is if we can get some sort of, either through DriveWire or through a dedicated network card that could work in a Coco 1 and 2, you could do a multiplayer 3D maze game. And this mock-up here is actually on a standard screen to get up to 6 players at once. And it's kind of an Aliens game idea here. And you see the highlights of the different names. And of course, he's picking people from the Alien movie. And he purposely spelled Ripley wrong because he doesn't want to get a possible ding on copyright for that either. So, but it looks like a really interesting concept here, and because it's all really low res, I mean, it wouldn't take that much RAM. You could probably do the graphics like lickety quick type thing, even do like some real 3D perspective type stuff with tables or something, or crates or something on the ground type thing. So that looks pretty promising too. And he always just surprises me with some of the stuff he's done on low res, like some of the fighting game stuff he's done and the port of that Jim Carrey game, can't remember the name of the title, where you're pushing boulders into the holes and stuff. Like he does these animations that just look awesome, and he's somebody that takes the semi-graphics 4 mode to the absolute limit. So I look forward to see where he goes with this too. And then Ken, who I believe is in the chat on YouTube, he's been working on this game that he started 35 years ago on the Coco 2, and he's decided to pick up. And he's not a programmer. He didn't, so like some of us stayed programming and then made it our careers. He's one who, he went off and did completely different things, and he's just kind of gotten back into it with the whole retro community thing. And he's taking a game he started 35 years ago, and he's redoing it and finishing it off. So he got some tips from the last video we did as part 1, because he's using set reset to draw everything, so it's pretty slow. So in this case here, he actually did some things with character strings and stuff, which is quite a bit faster.
Into the game.
I'll just play a little bit so you can kind of see what the game looks like.
Alert status green. And as I said before, I'm doing this on an emulator, so this is actually the first time I've played this with a keyboard. And I have practiced a couple of rounds, and I've found I actually kind of like playing it with the keyboard, so I think I'm definitely going to have to add keyboard playability in the program.
So yeah, I'll just play that little clip there. Now he's got some preamble on the design of the game, etc. He also goes through the listing to explain what he's changed since the previous version of it. The fact that he's entertaining putting keyboard as an option here means this would be much easier to port to an MC10 as well after the fact. So this could be a dual platform game that way. But yeah, it obviously has been a bit sped up. He's also fancied up with some cavern walls and stuff on the outside. He's got multiple aliens coming down. So he's progressed quite a bit since the part 1. And for somebody who's not a programmer and just kind of picking up for the first time in 35 years, he's made a heck of a lot of progress, I think.
Mm-hmm. Looks good.
So when he gets to his part 3, Ken, we'll have to have you on again to kind of talk about it, see how you're doing on it. Okay, next up, this video we have seen before, but it was a couple of years ago this was released. So I wanted to put it here for people that are newer to the community and haven't seen this before. So Ben Drakes, who is sometimes in the chat, I don't believe he's in the chat today right now. Correct me if I'm wrong. Oh, no, he is. Explore VR, he's there. So his handle there, he works for a VR company anyway, based out of England. And they've been making a 3D, or not 3D, a virtual reality system that not is just the goggles, but is also a treadmill. And you can walk and turn and push and all kinds of things. And he kind of demoed it where he hacked it to work with a special version of, I believe it was MAME or XR, I can't remember which one, to get it to play Coco games. So you can actually play Coco games using VR. So in this case, he did Phantom Slayer. Now, I've muted the sound because he has a commercial track running in the background. We got in trouble with that last time, but you can see what it's doing here. So he takes Phantom Slayer and he puts it in his Dragon, because he's, of course, in the UK, so they have that more than the Coco. And Phantom Slayer is a 3D shoot 'em up. And here he is in one of the earlier prototype rigs from a couple of years ago. So you've got the waist thing that kind of holds you, but the treadmill underneath moves in all directions. You can actually walk, and it detects when you turn, and you can fire, etc. You can back up and run backwards. So it's a VR game with a Coco, and he actually had a couple game demonstrations he did this way. Well, now the official commercial product is on pre-order. Speaking of pre-orders like Jason, I think it's $995, but it's been fancied up a little bit since. And of course, it plays modern games, which is what they're going to demo in the ad. And I will play that ad in full. I think it's about 2 minutes or something. It's not very long, but the ad for it is now out. The pre-order price is quite a bit cheaper than the other one. There's some optional extras and stuff you can add on too. But I did want to, for those who have not seen this before, playing VR games on a real Coco or Dragon. That's what it looks like there. And now I'll show you the new ad in general. And hopefully the volume's okay. Let me know if I have to crank it up or lower.
Wow,
Really cool.
that is neat.
That is freaking awesome.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So Ben, since you are in chat there, we're going to have to get you on maybe next week to kind of go into details, because I noticed the designs changed quite a bit from the original prototype you played 2 years ago. Like there's much more free floating, and of course the kneeling and stuff's all brand new. So we'd love to have you on to kind of talk about that. And I think we have to take some old Coco games and maybe add in some of those features so that you can detect the kneeling. I don't know, maybe we'll use the second joystick button or something like that to detect certain things, and see if we can make a game that actually takes some advantage of that.
If you could flap your arms and play buzzard bait, oh, that would be amazing.
There we are again with buzzard bait, huh?
I think we're gonna have to like get in shape or something.
Oh my God, yeah.
Stevie mentioned that too. He said this is the ultimate exercise machine. He might actually get exercise because he'd be playing this like constantly. Now, I will read the announcement out loud here that Ben put on the CoCoTALK Discord about this, and it's called the Omni One, which you saw in the ad there too. So he said here, the great thing is you don't even feel like you're exercising. You're too busy having fun to notice. It's $9.95 for just the treadmill, but there will be a bundle that includes a standalone VR headset, no PC required. That's going to be $1,995. So obviously this isn't cheap, but there's a way to get your place reserved in the queue and pick up a 40% discount if you invest here this week. And he gives the link that they showed there for investvirtuix.com. After that, it'll be 20% off for the remainder of the campaign. So, I mean, that is expensive, but I mean, a full-blown treadmill can be around that price anyway, and that's much more boring than this.
It costs as much as 2 Coco 3s.
Yeah, exactly. The $3,000 bundles a Coco 3 right fresh out of the box. Yeah.
I'd just like to point out that my pre-order doesn't cost nearly that much.
Yeah, but you don't have a switch to VR option, unfortunately, on yours. But
no, there's just no more room in this box. I'd have to go to a bigger box, I think.
Anyway, that looks awesome, man. And the new design looks a lot better, too, because you just wear that vest, which kind of detects, I think, some of your movements. And correct me if I'm wrong on that, Ben. Whereas before you had that kind of ring around that you'd have to lean into and stuff like that. So this looks like it feels a lot more natural to play. So, yeah, Ben, if you're available for next week, we'd love to have you on to kind of go into that in detail. And then also maybe some ways that we can implement some of the fancier features on a Coco game. And maybe we'll have to either patch an existing one or just create a new one that actually can use that. I know he was talking 2 years ago that they were going to go on tour because these will also be in other commercial enterprises to use. that maybe we can, have some Coco games that we can sneak in and demo. And he was talking about doing a tour through the States here, demoing the hardware itself. Of course, with COVID, that's all canceled for the moment. But if that tour ever does happen, I would love to get a chance to go see this in real life.
Yeah, absolutely.
The crouching and jumping.
He needs to come to the next Rainbow Fest.
Yeah, bring one of those to Rainbow Fest. That would be awesome.
Mm.
It's in Chicago. I mean, I'm sure you can demo it at other places in Chicago as part of it, but just have it there for like one day on the weekend or something would be just fantastic.
What Rainbow Fest? It's a Coco Fest.
Or yeah, sorry.
Yes, Coco.
There you
So
go.
pedantic. My goodness.
Technically.
Technically, yeah.
Oh, you're really going to go there, aren't you?
It's a common misconception, though.
Technically, it's
I'll get the AR versus VR argument too.
Oh, sorry, Curtis, we didn't mean to kill your segment there.
Yeah, thanks for
Who
derailing.
let her go?
and we're off the rails.
Train is
I think it's time for the next item, isn't it?
Yep. And the last one, as I mentioned in the pre-show here before we went on air, I didn't have any time this morning to catch up stories from today. I did notice a few flew by, so I'll have to save them for next week. Plus, we wanted the show a little bit shorter this week anyway. So this last one here is from Paul Shoemaker. He's got an updated video of his new isometric dungeon game that he's working on, and he's got some machine code here that actually shows it rendering a scene. So you can kind of see what that looks like. This is like a Coco 1.2 version almost of what Brett and Jay are doing on the Coco 3. Except with a bit more of a 3D-ish look. So that went pretty quick. I mean, it's a render, so basically you can see, the fancier stuff here, and you can see where doorways and stuff are. Like a lot of more modern games have been doing on, from Amiga times on type thing. So actually having this on the Coco 1 and 2 is pretty cool. And of course, we got a Coco 3 network version going as well, from the other developers. So pretty cool.
Looks like your browser's zoomed up a little bit there, Curtis. But we're not seeing the full screen there.
Oh, really?
Look, now you got Neil mad.
Well, that could be just good old Facebook. Their stupid buggy
Neil.
crap. So you guys can kind of see what it's doing.
Oh, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Oh, I see it fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we can see it. It's just I'm not seeing the whole thing. It's like, oh, hang on. That's my phone that was zoomed up. No, now it's all right.
Yeah.
Admit
Is it upside
nothing.
down too?
Operator error, I think we call that.
Admit nothing.
Yep.
Man.
Say, okay, you
Sorry,
fixed it, Curtis. Thank you.
Blame the cat.
Yeah, Neo did it.
And anyway, that is it for Game On News this week. Like I said, a few other things. I saw Jim Gary popped up again. There's been some other, game-related stories that came in this morning. I will put those into next week's rotation. And that's it for the Game On News.
Thank you, Curtis.
Oh. Do you want another version of Jump?
Probably
think
not
we
for copyright.
I don't think we have
want the whole
time
show
today.
dinged here.
Oh, just a short. Okay.
Are we going to roll straight into the regular news then?
From around the world, what you need to know. Get caught up on News with L. Curtis Boyle.
I don't know if you saw my thing about the outback desert on all the Cocos on the TRS-80 group. But I don't know if you can queue that up. That's for my. Maybe we can do that at the end of the segment and go into my acquisitions.
We're going to do updates and acquisitions as a separate segment.
Yeah. But I just thought if we could queue that up and get it ready for it, because I don't have it ready.
Well, as you can see by that beautiful footage, we're in news.
Yep. You're up, Curtis.
Okay, I was just bringing up my window here because it was kind of buried. Okay, so we've got a couple of follow-up videos from the Septandy thing because some people couldn't get everything crammed into September. So in this case, we have AC's 8-Bit Zone, who was doing the composite and S-video modifications to the Coco 1 and 2 and kind of did a preview of that. So he's got the full length. This is over an hour of going through a couple of different designs and working with a couple different Cocos. Where he actually gets the S-video running. The S-video actually does not do artifact colors because it's doing a purified signal. So text is super easy to read. You want to run Telewriter or something that looks awesome. I won't play the whole video here because obviously it's quite long. But it looks really good. And it's probably the best display for doing, with the pure P-Mode 3 color type stuff and doing, graphical text that I've seen for Coco 1 and 2. But he did discover a couple things that he'd missed. So he actually did a follow-up video right afterwards, just a little 3-minute thing, just, modifying some diagrams and putting in some missing names of capacitors or whatever. This is way above my head. But basically, it's a little follow-up video to do a couple of little additions, corrections. So if you guys are interested in doing an S video or a decent composite video upgrade for a Coco 2, excellent videos to watch. He goes through, thoroughly explains stuff, explains, why certain decisions are made and how things work and stuff too. So it's also an educational thing. It's not just a how-to. So I quite enjoyed the video, even though I'm not a hardware guy and I barely understood anything he was talking about.
I have to watch that. Very cool.
Now these, I was going to turn into discussion topics, maybe very quick, like 1 or 2 minute discussion, because of course we're pressed for time today. So the first was Richard Kelly posted an interesting question on the Facebook page for the Coco group. And it said, what event caused you to move from the Coco to a more modern system? Might be more than one factor is likely. And, there's 85 comments already. And then, some people it's just like, I couldn't use the word processor anymore for school, or a certain type of game with a graphics card that the Coco just couldn't keep up with. A few of us actually kept using Coco for decades after it was, officially discontinued for Radio Shack. So there's a ton of answers here. I just was wondering on the panel here, like very quickly, how fast did you get out of the Coco after it was discontinued, or even before that? And what was the reason you did?
I went away to university, and for some reason I didn't bring my Coco with me, and then I kind of fell away from it.
Okay. Anybody else?
I had to become a Unix. I had to become a Unix system administrator, and therefore I had no time for anything that wasn't Unix, and then Linux, and now I'm retired.
And we're reliving our childhoods.
Yeah. Anybody else?
We're all gonna suffer.
My Cocos got taken away because I was not doing well in school.
Oh.
But did you replace it with another computer then, or not?
I had other computers.
And they just took your Coco away?
Yeah.
That was the fun one?
Yeah.
Now you work with computers.
Hmm?
Now you work with computers.
Right.
As soon as Tandy discontinued the Cocos when I left for a couple of years.
Yeah, in my case, we kept using them. We were using them at work, so we used them right up until 2002, 2003. They were driving all of our printers for a while, and then they were just driving the line printers afterwards, as the speed requirements and the lasers was getting a little bit too fast for the Coco to keep up with, even with the extra hardware we had on it. So, but I never did really go totally away. I always kept using it. I was inactive in the community except for the web page and the listserv for a while there. But
well, you used it for business, right, Curtis?
Yeah, I mean, we ran our printing department off of it for almost 2 decades.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I got into, like, I never got into the Coco 2 or 3. I was always in a Coco 1 person, but then from the Coco 1, electronics started to take over, and I got an apprenticeship, and I left school, and then Dad got a 286 and started doing stuff on IBM PCs, basically, and all the work I needed to do was all on Windows. So, but I never got rid of my Coco, and a couple of years ago, dug it out and got it going again, and here I am, part of the community.
Yeah, Mr. James Diffendaffer in the chat mentions that he moved from the Coco because he started developing for the Amiga, and I know there's a few people in the Coco community did that. Dave Stamp was one. Guy who did the video toaster, whose name for some reason is escaping me at the moment, was another. So that was a fairly common one too.
DOS also started becoming more prevalent. That was Nickel.
Jim R mentions my cousin got a C64 and the Tandy didn't keep up. That's legit, I think, especially the Coco 1 and 2. Nimble says, my junior in high school used MS-DOS. I went to that with a Tandy 1000 EX. My parents gave away my old Coco 2. I'm sure that was a rather common one too.
Yeah.
A lot of the Radio Shack people migrated to the Tandy 1000 at the time. I think Stevie was one of them, as an example.
You all working for Radio Shack kind of had to. If you were selling them, you kind of had to
keep
learn
up with what you're selling. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's the reason I went to 1000s.
Well, and Tandy was sweet. They had the best MS-DOS kind of graphics in the business. So
why not? Yeah, the special Tandy mode, right?
TGA.
Yeah, basically the IBM PC Junior, but done properly, like with a real keyboard, etc. Because the graphics and the sound, I think, was basically the same as the Junior, but the Junior just completely flopped because of that stupid infrared keyboard that if somebody walked in front of it between you and the screen, it would quit working.
Like a fly.
A fly.
Anyway, that's a pretty interesting discussion. Like if anybody wants to add to it too, like I said, there's been 85 comments on that so far this week in like 6 days. So if you want to contribute your own story to it, that's on the Facebook Coco group. And then there was another poll here created by Steve Norton in the Coco Facebook group, which I thought was kind of interesting. I'm curious what everyone does with their retro computers. I find I spend more time tinkering with the hardware than I do using the old software. So do you have a retro stash you do to do real work or just play games for nostalgia? And I think quite a few of us here on the panel have actually contributed to this too. So there's just the general nostalgias in the lead, 67 votes. Programming is 43 votes. I think that's what I put myself under. Hardware tinkers, 39 votes, so not far behind. And it seems to be a mixture of the hardware and software guys, which is just like the Coco was back in its heyday. It was a very popular hardware platform.
Yep.
Refurbishing, 14 votes. And just games, 10 votes. So a quick rundown through the panel here. What is everybody else's reason for
programming? Programming and hardware, basically, for me.
Yeah. Hardware tinkering, refurbishing.
Okay.
Yeah,
hardware refurbishing.
Yeah, I'm so far off into hardware, it's not even funny.
Nick Marotta?
I'm mostly doing games right now. I dabble a little bit with some basic programming, but I'm hoping to get more into other kind of programming like Basic 09, but I haven't done it yet.
Nick Moretti's, I'm guessing programming is yours.
Trying to learn OS9.
Dare to dream.
Then trying.
That's just for the games, though, right?
I'm trying to boot it.
I mean, Jason, obviously, you're hardware tinkering. Do you do much programming or game playing besides, getting the lowest score every week?
Well, yeah, obviously hardware. That's a lot of some restoration, especially early on when I got back into the Coco. But yeah, I'd say mostly hardware, playing the games. I think the only piece of program I did recently was that silly little trivia game, and that was fun. But
that was fun.
With all the hardware right now, there's not a lot of time for anything else. I'm having a hard time even getting around to the Game On challenge.
Yeah, and usually your games are really short, so that shouldn't be that hard at all, right?
Yeah, well, this week's challenge, I was out of town, so usually I would just take care of that while the show was still going, but.
Now, I will say on my behalf, I mean, obviously programming is my main one. I do play some of the games. I participate in the Game On Challenge quite a bit. I don't know if I call myself a hardware tinkerer, but I'm helping develop software for new hardware, so I don't know if that qualifies or not, like with the Gimme X, for example. So
you're the bridge.
Yeah, I get walked on, exactly.
Nah, I didn't mean it like that.
Yeah, especially by people who think buzzard bait's better than Lancer. Like, geez.
Oh, here we go again. All the hate for buzzard bait.
I don't hate buzzard bait. I just don't think it quite flies as well. In the chat, we've got a few mentions too. James Jones on Twitch says, I tend to convert basic programs to Basic 9 to see how much faster and clearer they get. So that's a software guy. Nimble says, games, dorking around with basic, dabbling in assembly language. So games and programming. James Diffendaffer, programming. Nimble mentions in printing with a TP10 printer again. That wasn't an option, but cool. All right, so a couple of interesting discussion type topics there. If you want to participate, there's obviously the poll's still open, and the previous comment section for the previous story is still going as well. So
I'm finally going to have to join Facebook, is what you're saying.
Yeah, there was some discussion on that too, because a lot of people, especially the hardcore tech nerds, really hate Facebook for obvious reasons, because they're just a manipulative ad agency, basically. But they do have a purpose for doing groups like this. And it's easy to share files and video, and it's kind of like Discord that way, but it's much more public and easier to find. So I think it does serve a purpose. You just have to not try to make friends with everybody and ignore all the crap that's on Facebook and just stick to the groups that interest you. And I think then it's okay. It's like anything else. I mean, it definitely can be abusive and crappy and stupid, just like YouTube comments, for example.
There's some helpful browser plugins that can confine and constrain most of the nonsense that Facebook will try to inflict. So catch up with me later, Patrick, and I'll if you're actually going to go that route, I can give you some pointers there.
Yeah, it seems to will be helpful, so I will.
And the easiest way to get rid of the ads on Facebook is use an ad blocker. I don't have ads on Facebook or YouTube.
Well, I don't know what I don't know right now, so that's
yeah. But I do know some people just have like a mental block against using anything like Facebook. I personally, I think that's a bit limiting. It does have some good features for a community like this, like an online club type thing. And I mean, the Coco community is well over 2,000 members on Facebook, and that beats anything else around, honestly. I mean, Discord, we've got a few hundred, maybe. I'm not sure what the exact total is, but it's well under 1,000. So you get a much wider range. I mean, even Robert Galt joined finally, so that's testimony enough there.
I'm still recovering from the former corporate structure where we had a number of channels that had to be monitored, and that pretty much took up my life. And I've deleted Slack. So life is getting better.
One comment I missed previously, Frodo in the Netherlands there, he mentioned the Coco is mostly games for me. The programming he does on his ZX Spectrum. So, but it's cool. He's using the Coco anyway with the Mister. So, next story. Carlos Camachos here is having a 30% discount for his Coco 1 64K small square RAM badges, which I think he had a picture of buried in here somewhere. He also sells other ones, obviously, too. So these are the 2 meg badges in this 2048K variety. He also has one that says 2 MB, and there's a standard color computer 2 one. So if your label's damaged or missing, if you got a one from eBay or something that's kind of like bent and yellowed and whatever, you can get replacement ones here.
These badges are really good quality too. I've got a bunch of them here.
Yeah, here the 64K RAM badges here too. So,
yeah,
for the Coco 1 series. So, hey, 30% discount on these in particular, and the Coco 3 2048K badges. Get them while supplies last. So, you can contact them on Facebook to order.
Badges?
We don't need no stinking badges. Next up, Brian Schubring, who's actually on the panel, posted a video on multiple of the Coco-related groups on Facebook, listing various printer ribbons that he has still sealed, might need some rinking, they might be dried out by now. I'll let Brian speak to that. He has for sale for various line printers, not just handy ones either. So, Brian, do you want to just quickly mention, like, do these need re-inking, or are you re-inking them before you sell them, or are they just sealed as is, or how does that work?
Is
Brian still here?
I don't know.
I was on mute. I'm here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So no, it's just I went dumpster diving, found a bunch of stuff, and I just got them, and I was just for cost analysis, I just put amounts in. I just showed what I have and what they look like in that, and I'm just getting rid of them. I'm not looking to make any money out of them, really, just because I've got them for nothing. Cost of shipping. Someone just talked to me.
Okay, yeah, I did notice a few people have been asking about this the last couple of weeks in the Coco Facebook group because they actually got their old printers back and they want to start using them again. But these were basically brand new sealed, just thrown out?
Computerland, a place that closed down by me back in the 90s. I went dumpster diving. Boom, I just yanked them out. So I just finally, in the past 15 years, they've been sitting in a box on the floor in my basement. So now I just went through and just let everybody see.
Now, would these be dried out? You'd still have to re-ink them, do you think, or are they actually sealed well enough?
They've been sealed. They're still,
so they might actually work.
Most of them are in sealed packages.
As an eBay guy, these old sealed ribbons are usually just fine. It's amazing how long they hold on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of them are, the NEC or Toshiba brand too. So they're OEM.
They're good quality, right from the original manufacturers. So.
Yeah, and there are a few, as noted, a few color ones too.
Now, do you just take orders for this on Facebook, or do you have a web page set up for this or anything? Or
someone just contact me if someone wants to take the whole lot. Someone takes the whole lot.
And do you sell individually for those who just want it for whatever printer they happen to have?
I'm just getting rid of them. But yeah, if someone wants to, yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, if somebody has like a color Canon printer or whatever one that you happen to have a ribbon for, they have no use for the rest of the ribbons anyway. So I just wondered if you'd do them individually.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just passing your problem on to somebody else.
Exactly. I'm not shy about saying that.
We cut out the middleman and passed the problems on to you.
Yeah,
exactly.
Next up, we had Pat on the show last week, and he's got his third part of the interview up now with John Roach, former CEO of Tandy. So this is going into the later history of Tandy with John. So he kind of picks up where he left off. Once again, fascinating interview. I'm not going to play it here because you have to listen to the whole thing. It's not even it's pointless to play a little snippet. If you watched it last week when we did play snippets of the previous two, it's a very fascinating interview. He also had posted up that I'd missed this the first time around this went through, but this wasn't one he did, but he mentioned it. This was a interview done with Louis Kornfeld, who was this high-end person at Tandy, but he also worked at Radio Shack before Tandy bought them out. So he's been at Radio Shack since like 49 or something like that. And he was one of their higher-up VPs. So he goes into the earlier history when they were still running out of the Boston area as a little chain of 9 stores, and then when Tandy bought them, and then when the TRS-80s came out, and just kind of going through the history. So this is pre-John Roach era. But it does go into a bit of the computer history as well, and it's another fascinating interview. I think he's since passed. He was like 90-something when he passed away. But very interesting if you're into the history of Tandy, and also a little bit of the stuff about Intertan and international sales, and he's hiring a Bernie Appel, who actually was involved somewhat with some of the Coco stuff too. He was at some of the Coco announcements that Rainbow attended, like the Coco 3 announcement, etc. So very, very interesting interview as well. So if you want to get some Tandy history on there, both of those 2 videos are awesome. Next up, Walter Zambotti's posted that in Discord that he's got a new version of OVCC. This is the new OCC, I guess it's kind of RVCC, that is cross-platform, runs on Linux, runs on Windows, runs on the Mac. So it's using an interface that's a little bit different than the one you're used to if you're running the Windows version of VCC. But this new version 1.40 he's got up for testing actually adds in the Tandy and CocoMax high-res interface support. I have an older version of VCC, which actually had the options in the menu for it, but it's all grayed out and you can't actually select any of them. So it was a planned feature that just never got finished. And I think they've actually removed it from the menus on later versions of VCC. But this version here, it's actually working. He's been doing some testing with it, and he wants some other people to test it. So please, go grab it. I've got a link that they can post into the notes of where to get it on his GitHub. And this is an open source project, so you can actually go grab it yourself, build it yourself, do any modifications yourself as well. So I haven't had a chance to try it myself yet, but go check it out because he's definitely been trying to update it as much as he can, and we're getting some long missing features. I mean, MAME has supported the high-res interface for years already, so it's nice to see VCC catching up in that aspect. Next up, Ruth Kim Ann Moss. Now, we mentioned her last week. Her father passed away, and she's been going through the estate. And he was a collector of computers, including a ton of Radio Shack stuff. So she mentions here, this is a later post where she mentions she's found many Cocos and Coco-related things. In some are new in unsealed boxes. So going by eBay prices, she'd probably get $1,000 each for those. Multiple monitors, discs, printers, all kinds of stuff there. And she's still making the final list. Now she wants to have somebody in the San Francisco Bay Area would be preferable for her to sell this to, because they can just come and pick it up and she doesn't have to worry about shipping costs and packing it properly and all that kind of stuff. I know we have some people here even on the panel today that are from that area if they're interested.
Mikey.
Yes. Did sort of
Did we
see
make
this,
up?
but
Did we wake up Mike during the news?
Crikey, Mikey.
I'm awake. No, wait, I'm not.
So this is a list she did a little bit later here, a short list of Tandy stuff, and I'm not sure on whether these are Coco 2s or Model 2s. She didn't really specify. But she's got 7 of the 2, 3 of the 3, 2 of the 4, so I'm not sure what mixture there are in the external drives and monitors. And she hasn't quite gone through everything. She does mention that one Coco 2 did not work, but all the others worked when they were turned on and tested. And of course, she's got, as she puts it, a zillion games and software and a zillion floppies of both kinds. So it sounds like a pretty good haul. So Mikey, if there's anything in there, or if maybe you can act as a proxy for somebody that's not in the Bay Area, and then making arrangements with people to get it. Sounds like there's a fair bit of interesting stuff in there. And then she actually did a little video here kind of going through some of it.
I would be very interested in that Model 4 if I can get it over here without it costing me an arm and a leg.
Maybe just a leg. Okay, next up after that, Robert Sieg has posted some 256 color composite images he did in his Coco 3, and that's using the kind of artifacting that sneaks into a composite signal, even on the Coco 316 color mode. So he's made a video showing him of loading and displaying. Especially with a handheld camera, so he's moving it around while he's trying to type, etc. But some of the results look pretty good. That picture I recognize. I think that was part of one of the MM1 demos, wasn't it, Chet?
Might have been one of the ones that was done by Mike.
Anyway, he's been fiddling with this mode now for a few days, and he's put up some pictures. Some of the actual still photos actually look better because, of course, when you're taking a video with a camera phone, the refresh rates are a little off, so it doesn't look quite as good as it actually does in real life. So he's got some still photos you can take a look at on Facebook as well. Okay, next up, Christian Cremo is selling off his original Coco discs, most of them including manuals on eBay. This includes some Tandy, mostly Tandy and a little bit of third party. So, like he's got Paper Route by Diecom, coincidentally enough, the same people that did Marble Maze that we did today. So these are the original discs of some Coco 3 stuff, some Coco 2 stuff. There's some T&D software there. And the manuals he's got for most of these as well. So he's got some little side pictures here with the manuals. So if you want some original stuff with documentation, that's a pretty good sale to get to, and that's another 5 days left. So feel free to bid, and that's 13 different discs, and I think 12 manuals or 11 or something. Like pretty close to all of them.
May not ship to Australia.
Next up, Roundel Vo put up an alien disc, which I think is a high color Sockmaster image, isn't it, Ron?
Yes, sir. It is.
So this is using Sock's technique where he's switching palettes per scan line and then also overlaying several at a time or changing the palettes on each refresh on top of that. So it's actually giving you literally thousands of colors kind of simulated here too. So it's done some really incredible results here. So it does take a while to render. It's a pretty intensive algorithm to do it. So Ron has taken the time to actually create the final saved version. You don't have to go through the whole conversion process. You can just load it quickly and see it. And there's really incredible stuff I've seen using high color.
Works good.
Yep.
Oh, nice.
Now here's a bit of history. The International Color Computer Club, which was meant to be international, obviously. I'm not going to get too much in the backstory of this because it's a pretty bad story. The person that was representing it in Canada, the second guy I think was representing it actually, and that's one of his addresses listed below, actually turned out to be a really, really bad person. He was actually a part of a Canada-wide manhunt with law enforcement a few years back, and I don't want to get in the details. It involves violence, it involves children, it involves a bunch of bad things. So I don't want to get too much into that. But the thought of the International Color Computer Club and the previous person that was running it actually were good. And it was basically meant to get Coco people in contact with each other across countries. And they had an operation in Texas, which was the main branch, and then we had one in Canada. So I was never a member of it, but I do remember they used to have full page ads in Rainbow at times for this. And they had a pretty large group. I think it was probably getting close to 500 or 1,000 people at one point.
Can you nerds decode the membership number?
Yeah, somebody actually did that in the comments, if I remember. Either that or there was a lot of Coco sold. I didn't realize, like billions. Anyway, it's an interesting piece of history to actually have one of the certificate of memberships here. And the person that actually owns this is actually, John Jack Gerner himself. So, and he just rejoined Facebook and the Coco group there. So another, person from the old days has come back to the Coco. And once again, that's one of the biggest purposes of Facebook. It makes it really easy to find this kind of stuff. Whereas, trying to happen our Discord server, if you happen to catch the show, is just about impossible if you know about Discord to begin with.
Look at that address.
Pardon me?
Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Yeah, that's where I live. I knew this guy. And
You know where
at
that
the
is?
time, I did not know the crap he was involved with.
Oh.
I think it's more
Wow.
interesting. All you needed was Carlton Drive. Yeah, they're on Carlton Drive in Saskatoon. Just
Yeah.
go there.
Saskatchewan, easy to draw, hard to spell.
Yeah.
Yeah, Saskatchewan's really easy to draw. And last up, considering eBay sales here, our own Alan Huffman here has got a whole bunch of stuff for sale. And I think he's got 6 days left on most of it. So he's got the Disney Coco 1 collection here. And then he's got some other random cartridges, which is some Coco 3, some Coco 2. He's got some hardware, including MC10s, some manuals, high-res joystick interface, light power controllers, Coco 3 games in box with discs, etc. So he's been trying to kind of downsize and get rid of a bunch of duplicates and stuff that he has. He's not getting out of the Coco or anything, but he's getting rid of stuff that he has multiple copies of. So he's got multiple auctions currently going on. I think somebody had mentioned that he forgot to put international shipping allowed on a few of these for the Canadians and Australians that may want to order some of this stuff. I think some of the later ones he might have changed that. Like, you have to check individually. But contact Alan too, because he may be able to arrange something directly with you. And that is it for the news.
Do you know where Alan lives?
Iowa, I believe.
Oh.
Allentown.
I think he's in the home city of Microware still, isn't he, Chet? Do you know where?
Close.
Yeah, I think he's still in Des Moines. Maybe West Des Moines. Who knows? Same damn thing. I mean, it's a little dot in the middle of a cornfield.
All right.
Yeah, just change the corn to wheat and you're up where I am. So
Yeah. No, I mean, it's the whole time, the whole year I was there. I mean, I couldn't get a fresh bowl of corn. I mean, it was sad. I mean, I'm surrounded by corn, couldn't get a fresh bowl of it. It really kind of sucked.
Thank you very much, Curtis. Mark, do you want to roll a commercial? Come back with updates and acquisitions.
Yep. Let's see which one shall we do.
CoCoTALK will return after these messages.
CoCo2, c'est le coq champignon, des micros et dans le pion. Pour le jeu, il est pas bavard, les études, c'est pas bizarre. L'expansion, il adore ça, les commandes, tu vas voir ça. Notre Coco est programmable, pour tes cours, c'est bien serviable. CoCo2 de Radio Chaton, l'affaire est dans le sac.
Un ordinateur couleur qui a de la personnalité. Le Coco 2 de Radio Shack. En solde pour Noël à partir de 149,95.
CoCo2 de Radio Chaton, l'affaire est dans le sac, c'est toi et CoCo2.
And now, Coco Thoughts by Samuel Gimes. If you're using your color computer in Quebec and it stops working, is it now a Coco won't do?
Hi, Ron Delvaux, Timberman, Coco Fest, CoCoTALK.
In a world where RGB produces black and white video, one cable can make a difference. Switcheroo. CoCo3ScartCable.com.
Hey, have you got your Coco 3 yet? Hi, this is Rick Adams, author of Temple of Ram and Shanghai, and you've tuned into CoCoTALK, the nation's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy color computer.
What's going on, everybody? Original Gamer Stevie Stroh here, and if you're a fan of vintage computing and retro gaming, then you're going to love our retro swag shop at 8bit256.com. There you will find custom designs by Instagram artist Joel M. Adams. You can get I'm a Coconut, CoCoTALK, and other cool video game images on a t-shirt, coffee mug, or mouse pad. So if you love retro, then head on over to the retro swag shop at 8bit256.com today. Tell them the Original Gamer Stevie Stroh sent you.
Radio
Radio Shack store-wide manager's red tag sale is on now. We've slashed prices 20%, 30%, 40%, 50%. Save on famous Radio Shack hi-fi, car stereo, radios, toys, TV games, calculators, walkie-talkies, and CB radios. Look for the big red tag. Save like never before on these and literally hundreds of red tag specials. Hurry into Radio Shack today.
Hi, this is Randy Kindig of the Floppy Days podcast. I just love me some Coco, and nobody covers it better than Steve Strobridge. You're listening to CoCoTALK.
Okay, and we're back.
Welcome back. And since starting the show, we have a couple of people that joined us here in Discord. We got Chet Simpson. How you doing, Chet? Let's see. He's doing well. There he goes.
Yeah, I'm good.
Good to see you. And Brian Schubring just joined us since we started, right?
Yeah, I'm here.
Welcome. And I also want to acknowledge all the people we have. Well, not all the people, but we have a lot of people in chat. Thanks for being here. We got Mikey and Frodo and Canadian Retro Things and Kevin Holloway and Curtis and me and Brian Joyce and just a whole bunch of people. Thank you for being here and keeping the chat room flowing. And now we're going to do updates and acquisitions. And I know a couple we have queued up, and then we can get some more if there's any more. But let's start off with Jason Reichard.
It's muted.
I'm muted. There we go. There
And
we
Jason,
go.
thank you for doing the chat links as well today.
Oh, no problem. It
Yes,
said it
thanks.
was Stevie, but it was me. It
Yes.
was me the whole time. I got
So
my
now
Mark Overhoser hat. Oh, there we go.
It's part of your
I'm working on
incredible-
these, but yeah, I'm working on these, Joey, high res, but that's not what I'm here about. I'm here about I got a Priority Mail flat rate box with a nice old dent here in the bottom. Thank goodness there was a lot of padding in here, so it did not affect the contents. But I've got I acquired 6 more issues of Rainbow magazine from 1983. And this is actually before I even got into the Coco, before we even had a computer. And some of these are pretty beefy. Like you got the
that was at its biggest when it was like 350 pages. In
yeah,
a
it's
few
like
issues,
these. This is the November 1983, and it is 338 pages. So that's pretty darn beefy in the December issue. And these are from the same folks I got these from last time. And they're all in really, really good shape. And but yeah, 300. Yeah, these I see these are like 338, and I see we have I think Terry Stiggy's still on the call. You can see right here in the corner, it even says TDP for your TRS-80 color TDP 100 Dragon 32 on the April 1983 edition. This one's not quite as big. It's 242, but it's got a really cool Spectral Associates ad on the back.
That one also has the nuclear reactor simulator that was partly co-authored by Chris Latham, who did Donkey King and Sailor Man.
Oh wow! See, I have these will all be new to me because this is before we had it. And here's the it's got the white Coco 1 on the cover here of September '83 with the melted keyboard, and
that's really cool, Jason.
Yeah, what else we got here? We got August '83. It's the games issue. I guess this guy must play a lot of games. He's very muscular.
Isn't that your typical Coco game player?
That's after you use the Explorer VR's the Omni.
Yeah.
Those are the results.
Is that what it is? That looks like something out of Ready Player One. Is what that thing.
Either that or it was David Ladd after playing Marble Madness all week. I'm not sure.
That's why he broke the joystick. He was just too strong. And then finally, I have October '83, very very colorful. I think this is the graphics special, and this is another. This one's 322 pages.
Is that supposed to be the best, Lonnie?
And there, I don't know. And there's an ad for Cubics
Ooh, I don't know if I've ever
on the
played that.
back. So yeah, this is pretty cool. And
that was the first issue of Rainbow that I got. It's got a really good game in it called Marathon.
Yep.
Marathon.
John Fraze.
Yeah.
Oh, It's even got it has a new OS9 column by we got previous guest on this show, Dale Puckett.
Yep.
The September 83 issue you showed with the Coco 1 breaking through the cover, which is also when they announced Coco 2, is also when they announced OS9 Level 1.
Oh, that's the focus. That's the focus on education issue. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So are you looking to get a complete collection as well, as much as you can?
As much as I can. I think, I foolishly got rid of these things like 20 some years ago. So, and I think I have like zero hope of ever getting the final issues that were the tabloid format. I think those are about as rare as hen's teeth, as they would say. So, but I'll get
I'm
what I
not
can.
selling mine.
Yeah, I'll get what I can at a reasonable price. I'm not gonna, I got these because it was a reasonable price.
Yes.
The good thing is that I think they are all scanned on the Color Computer Archive. So if you want to see them and read them, you can. You just don't have a physical copy.
Absolutely.
Yes,
That's all I have.
Excellent. We have a couple people trying to get full collections of the paper magazines. So good luck. Hope you can fill that in. All right, and also know we have some updates coming from David O'Connor.
Yeah. During the last couple of weeks, there was a ad placed on Facebook. I think it was on Facebook Marketplace. It might have been placed in the Coco group. There was some Coco stuff, basically in a town called Whyalla, which is a few hundred kilometres away from me, which is basically next to the desert. So it's Australian outback. And these computers, the ad, Nick Morentis, I know you saw it. There was the ad showed a picture of what was there, and it was literally covered in Australian outback red dust.
Oh shit!
Yeah, it was. Yeah, probably some of that too.
Crikey, but it was powdered.
Yeah. There was a Coco 3, there was a CM8, there was a Coco 1, there was 2 floppy drives, a FD501 and an FD500. There was a CCR 81, and obviously there was some very in the retro community here. There was a lot of interest, and people were emailing the seller or private messaging the seller, and I private messaged the seller as well, and nobody was hearing back. And so a couple of people gave up, and I persisted. And I thought, no, I'm not letting this go. And it was originally all listed for $50 Australian for the whole lot. And I thought, yeah, okay, I can't go past that. Then the ad got taken down. Somebody notified the seller that these things were worth more than $50. So it got put back up again for $150, which was still a bargain for what it is. I mean, the CM8 would have been worth $150 alone. I would have paid that for that.
With the door, yes.
Yeah. So anyway, I made the purchase, got in touch with the seller, and through persistence, the seller got back to me, and it was still available. So I secured the deal, and the gear arrived here during the week, this week. Right here, this is the Coco 3. This is the CM8 that was there. I've cleaned all the dust off, cleaned the inside of the CM8 that was literally coated in this red dust.
Wow.
So I wanted to clean everything off before I turned it on, obviously, for obvious reasons.
Well, yeah.
And then when I did switch it on, up it fired. Worked perfectly. Coco 3 worked perfectly. It's got a slide switch here, and a push button switch here. The slide switch is a power on and off switch. And there's a little LED indicator there to show that it's on. That's a reset switch, which we guessed correctly. So yeah, I was delighted when they both came up and worked. And the badge had come off the door, so I've stuck the badge back on, and it's got its door. So
wow, that's a collector's item right there.
Yep.
David, your camera makes it look like a widescreen CM8. Looks cool.
Oh yeah.
I did have a question. Did the physical Coco 3 did it have that dust in it also? Inside
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, they were coated. They were all. This actually had, despite having these mods on it, the warranty sticker was still intact. So I don't know whether the person who did the mods very carefully removed it and put it back on. I'm suspecting that might have been the case.
Probably.
Same thing with this. This is the.
Or was this guy a gynecologist?
No, it was.
It was done arthroscopically.
Yeah. This was that was all covered in the dust as well, so I've cleaned that up and I powered it up.
It looks in good shape.
Looks
pretty.
It's
in really good shape, yeah.
At least it didn't have soap powder in it. I've been there, done that.
Yeah. So I fired that up, and I got a weird screen with grey and black stuff on it, and I thought, oh, okay, maybe VGG, maybe I typed motor on, it didn't do anything. I thought, oh, maybe CPU, and I thought maybe either VGG, CPU, or RAM was what I was suspecting. So I took it apart and pulled the lid off, and the lid is still off it, so that's inside. It's got 64K of RAM. It's got extended color basic. So I swapped out the CPU, put a different CPU in, still no go, same thing. Swapped out the VGG, same thing, still the weird screen. So I thought, oh, well, it must be RAM. So I took the RAM chips out and I put them in different spots because I didn't have any spare RAM chips here. And when I put them in different spots, I got different garble on the screen. So I'm thinking, yeah, well, it's 99% that it's going to be the RAM. So now I need to find somebody who can sell me some 4164 RAM chips. That'll get that going. I do suspect, because everything else works.
What's the serial number on that baby?
What is this, a Coco Fest auction?
It's a pretty big. I don't know if you can see there, but it's.
Oh,
I think it ends in Crikey.
It's embossed instead of printed.
501446 is the serial number, so it's a fairly advanced serial number.
And we don't know if the numbering's restarted with PAL or not for sure. So.
Yeah, no, that's right. There's a that's the CCR 81, and it's got a cassette in it. I don't know what's on the cassette, but there's a realistic super tape there.
Wow.
Oops, I can get that in
Is that the
one.
missing Rick Adams game?
Probably could
be
It's got Three Dog Night on it.
That cassette is the collectible on its own.
You'd think it would be
Yeah.
CCR on there.
Creedence Clearwater Revival.
Yeah.
Down here I have, that's the FD501 floppy disk controller, and that's the
dual.
discs.
Cool. Very nice.
Dual. Yep. So I haven't powered these up yet. I want to take it apart and do a thorough clean and get rid of all the dust out of it. Obviously, being a floppy disk, it's floppy disk control.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if those are single-sided or double-sided drives too.
Yeah, it will. So there's that one. There is this one here. That's the FD500. FD500 there. And once again, another one with dual drives in it. So four drives there between the two. And these things are heavy. I didn't realize how heavy these drives are.
Yeah, they were.
I'm betting those are single sides.
Yeah, probably 40 track single sides, my guess.
Yeah.
The FD500, I suspect, will definitely be a single side. Inside the drives, there's two discs. Whoops.
And the one disc says disc on it, doesn't it?
And the other one's been in there a long, long time.
You can see the dirt coating.
Oh,
Disc,
look at that.
Disc utility. That one's good.
You might want to get a hold of David Ladd. How are you going to clean that?
Yeah, I'm definitely.
Oh, there's some pirated Nick Marentes games on there. Oh my god!
I saw Shanghai.
Yeah. So
also, it's the Tom Mix version of Donut Dilemma.
I'll bet you they
also,
work.
Yeah, they probably will. Once I give them a good cleanup, they probably will. I mean, the only, like I said, the Coco, everything works except the Coco one, which I think is a RAM issue, but it still fires up and I still get stuff on the screen. So
it's like Christmas in Australia, huh?
Yeah, and there is this Tandy color Coco mouse. So not sure if the Coco mouse works. I haven't plugged it in, but
I'm sorry you got that. Those are really awful.
Yeah, it probably is, but I got one anyway. So.
Yeah, and
a spare ball for a pinball machine if you have one of those too. So.
and they left the ball in there.
So yeah, the Coco 3 is 128K. It hasn't been expanded yet, so there's room for it. But it cleaned up really, really well. I mean, this thing was filthy when I got it. The case is actually quite white, as you can see there. It's in good nick. And same thing with the CM8. That cleaned up really nicely. So all that for
because the dirt blocked the sun.
Yeah, horse shit is a preservative.
Is that why this show's so fresh?
Now,
I saved it all. I've swept it off and put it in a jar. So if I ever want to sell any of these, I can sell them with the dirt put back on and make more money on it because it's genuine, authentic, outback, Australian dirt.
What's the gimme in it?
I've heard a rumor that you make Vegemite by mixing that dirt with sludge. Is that correct?
You probably could. So yeah, all of that for $150. So I'm absolutely delighted.
Sweet.
What memory
that's-
chips are you looking for?
You have to run
I'm looking for-
sysinfo.
Yeah, I'm looking for 4164s for the Coco one. So because it's got
I've got 4.
Yeah, okay.
You need 8 though, don't you?
Yeah, I do. Yep.
I might have some too. I'll have to dig around. I'll let you know.
Yeah,
Well, they
okay.
can't
I'm
all
happy
be
to-
bad. So if you got
Yeah,
4,
I'm happy to, whatever the costs are involved there, pay for the chips and the shipping or whatever. I'm happy to do that. So, yeah.
will they come this year yet?
I'll
Yeah.
hollow out a magazine, put it inside, and ship it media mail. All right.
Yeah. Lastly, I've been going on about this for weeks now. This is the my Coco 3 in a Model 4 case. I've been running a competition for it, as everybody knows, and there's going to be 2 prizes or 3 prizes actually. There's going to be a prize from the panel's vote, but I haven't put together the list yet, so I'll have to do that for next week. But my personal vote, there was 2 listings in the Facebook group. 2 people a lot of people responded, but 2 people responded that I really liked their post. One was Chad Edward. He came up with Coco Davo, and I thought, yeah, okay. But I liked the D at the start of it. I thought, Coco D. I thought, yeah. So Chad inspired me with the Coco D thing. And then, Ron, you put up there Coco DX, which I really like as well. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I was looking for something that said Coco 4, Model 4, Coco 3. So D is the 4th letter of the alphabet. Coco D is really easy to say. So basically, I've decided on Coco D. And because 2 people inspired that name, I'm going to give away 2 prizes, whichever album people want from my collection. So Ron Delvaux, you get one, and Chad Edward gets the other one. So
already got the Pulse one.
Yeah, Pulse Eternal. So yeah, any of the Pulse Eternal albums that you haven't got already, I'll give you some codes and you can download them and have a listen. So
Have you
that's pretty
considered
much
giving that? Have you considered giving a prize away to any of the rejected entries? Like someone could get that awful Coco mouse.
I think I want to keep it because it's so awful. No, that's pretty much my updates, and yeah. So congratulations, Ron and Chad Edward.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, congratulations, guys. Thank you very much, David. Do we have any other acquisitions or updates from our panel?
Dave 609 had some, didn't he?
Oh,
yeah,
did
I
he,
got
Dave?
some quick.
Yeah, go ahead, Dave.
All right. So I did a little shopping, and I was able to find not too far from Montreal someone selling some Coco stuff. If I could share. Am I sharing? Oh, yes, I am. Hang on,
Sharing
gotta
is
find the
caring.
right. Gotta find the right button here.
Push the
All
button,
right.
Frank.
Go ahead. Okay, here we go. Won't take long. It is. So one part of the package was a Coco One with its box and a monitor still in the box, styrofoam, and has a little door.
Wow, 2 CM8s with doors in one show. That's got to be a record.
Right?
Absolutely.
All right, I'll find the other one. And I was able to get, where is it? Coco 3, can't go wrong with that.
Very nice. And like I said, CCR 82 there too.
Yeah, it was advertised as a 128, but it's got 512K, so that was a nice bonus.
Mm.
Now, here's a funny thing. When let's sure I get the right picture. This Coco One has been modded. Sorry, this
Well,
is
that's a
before
different
the
mod.
cleanup. Yeah. So there was no mention of what was done. Just some dip switches and a mysterious window.
Did you figure out what it does?
Yeah. First dip switch gives me inverse video.
Cool.
Cool.
And the other dip switch affects the lowercase, whether you'll have lowercase or not.
Oh, so it's got a T1 chip in it.
Nope.
Or a lowercase ROM kit.
Oh, okay. Right.
Yeah, the lowercase doesn't work. It just gives the inverted. I don't know if they knew what they were doing.
Okay, right.
And the other 6 switches are just not defined, or?
Okay. This one won't show it.
And it also had a modded BASIC in it, and I thought it was interesting that the amount of free memory was different. Oh, look at that window.
So here's the window. It's a real-time clock.
Oh, wow. Far out it is too.
Hardware RTC, man.
You weren't joking.
Was it set to the right time?
And not yet arrived, no. Okay. I have a picture of the inside of it. Yeah, it was pretty funny. So, I don't know if I have it inside of the case. So there was some mods here. You can see the wire on the right is hooked up to the inverse video. The other one goes to one of the bits of the video register. I guess he's got a 28-pin EEPROM on a 24-pin socket. That solves that mystery.
What's it say on the ROM?
Oh, it's X basic something or other.
Yes, probably just a burn of extend basic.
Now here's a funny one. It's an old plotter printer that uses 4 color pens.
CGP 115.
Yeah, it's a funny machine to watch work, but I don't have any active pens. I'm gonna have to either make some pens or buy some pens, I guess.
Those were notorious for breaking the little drive gears.
Okay. Well, this one seems to work. It just need to work on the pens. What else? Here was another little score from the same area. This was all east of Montreal. Someone had a pretty
you
clean
got that.
NC10.
I saw that with the case.
Yep.
Yeah, I was up there for a little while.
And it's got the 16K expansion pack.
Yeah. I was eyeing that, but I didn't really need it, so.
Well,
I thought the case was neat, though.
Yeah, I said I couldn't resist with the case.
Need
Like
and want
carry
is
your-
2 different
you can
things.
carry
isn't
your
it?
MC10 around to people's houses.
Oh, well, we're coming up on our hard stops. We probably need to run the outro.
Did we announce that we have an update that Marco is getting married today? Mark Overhoser.
Yes.
Resident
That's
Apple
awesome.
guy, all around good guy. And
Yep.
he's getting married in just a couple minutes. So
And he's streaming it for us to be able to watch
On
virtually,
YouTube,
so-
yes.
the link is in the chat. And if you guys want to watch, and yeah, go ahead, Mark Bosley. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Go Marco.
Push the button, Frank.
This concludes another episode of CoCoTALK, the world's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy Color Computer. For all things CoCoTALK, visit us on the web at cocotalk.live. We'd love to hear from you. Send feedback, suggestions, even segments via email to cocotalk@cocotalk.live.
CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world, keeping the Tandy flame alive. We may be mocked, but we'll never stop, 'cause CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world.
Consider supporting the show with a purchase of merchandise from our retro swag shop at 8bit256.com. If you'd like to become a patron of the show, click the Patreon link at our website at cocotalk.live.
CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world, keeping the Tandy flame alive. We may be mocked, but we'll never stop, 'cause CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world.
Coco Talk would not exist without the community, its cast, crew, and contributors. Thanks go to Curtis Boyle, David Ladd, Mark Overholzer, Grant Leedy, Bruce Moore, Nick Marentes, Ron Delvaux, Rick Adams, Jason Reichert, Richard Lorbieski, Jim Brain, Tom C., Rob Inman, Mark Bosley, Brian Joyce, Ken Reichert, David O'Connor, Brian Weasler, Terry Steggy, Nick Marotta, John Strong, and many more, especially to Steve Bjork for production suggestions and James Differendaffer for making my head explode. Please help support the CoCo community by visiting some of its various contributors. A list of resources is available at imacoconut.com. That's IMACOCONUT.com. The Coco Talk theme song is copyright 2008 by D. Bruce Moore and Greg Sheeler. Mixed, mastered, and produced by D. Bruce Moore.
All right. Say goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.